Okay, so I just pulled apart this old, like 20-year-old lawn trimmer or line trimmer, because it's got like, I think, about a 50cc motor in here. And I wanted to know how it works, and I've kind of halfway gotten it. So this is the bottom piece. This is basically the mover or the driver. And what we have here, we essentially have like the rotational kind of shaft, so to speak. For example, if I pull this up here, try to get a good like that. If I push it down, pull it up, it's got like a thing that moves there, right? Like that. If I, yeah, I'll show an example. So if I turn this, which is a starter, that's the pull pin starter. So for example, I've got my regular one. It's the pull, the pull thing, right? It's right here. And if we turn it, look at that. It's up and down. Oops, and it gets locked if I don't. I'm not careful. So it just spins. And here, this is what connects to like a cable, like a metal kind of flexible cable that basically runs through the whole thing, eventually going to the end, right? So that's like the end there, and that's the end here. It's like this, right? And if I spin this, it doesn't do anything. You can see, because it's got a clutch. But if I spin this, let's just get this unlocked. Spin this, you can see it moves. Right, turn it both ways. Because it engages the clutch somehow. I'm actually not sure how the clutch works. I can't get this part off, so I can't really figure it out. But otherwise, that's like the driver. So this would be like the where the transmission of a motorcycle, where the motor goes into the transmission to basically feed power. One interesting thing is that it's black, showing you can see all the carbon. That's all the use, I guess you could say. It probably hasn't been used all that much, to be honest. I don't think this one was, but yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, so this is like the head of the head of it, and it's got these little things around it. I don't really know what they are. They're doing whatever. So basically, that is the bottom part, the moving part. Let's look at so you can think like that's a physical part, and then you've got the combustion area, which is more like the spiritual part, right? And this is where the oil would go. Usually there would be oil kind of circulating around there in a motor, and also in your transmission. Now, this is a top head, so what it looks like, I'll take the spark plug out for a minute. So we had this here, this would be on top, it'd be on top here, okay? And this piston is going like in and out of here, and it's a very tight, like it basically creates a vacuum, because it's all machined to like high precision, which is why if you've ever used a motorcycle, you can clutch brake by like releasing the clutch, so it can technically, releasing the clutch cable, I mean, so that it connects the clutch, and then you have that vacuum where it goes boop 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 boop, and like it slows you down. Now this, you can see, it's hard to see on the camera, but the end of it is black, like where the spark plug is, and you can kind of see that shine. The rest of it is like nice metal. Going on, so the spark plug. Now the interesting thing with the motor is that it's fuel go in, combust, release. Or you can just think fuel in, fuel and air in, combust, fuel and air in, combust, fuel and air in, combust. That's pretty much spark. So it's like gas spark, gas spark, gas spark. You know, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Now, spark plug. Here we are. You can see it's pretty old and rusty. I'd probably have to replace this if I wanted to get it working. So it's got these two little things which it'll form. It's a spark gap. So you see how it's got a gap between. It looks like a graphite rod there. That sticking out rod, and then what I'm touching looks like a metal piece. So I think they use special rare elements. I'm not sure. And this one's kind of black. I know some people, they know how to tell whether they're good or bad by the color. And then there's this part here up the top, which what it connects to. It has this here. Connects to, it's got this like thing, again same thing as a motorcycle. You just pop it on top like that. If you look into it, it's got a little piece of metal, and it connects to this piece. You can see it's resined just like electronics, and this sits on top of so here the starter, we can see it's got a magnet, like strong magnets here. See, it just connects. Oh, it's very strong. So this would be spinning around and probably creating electricity within this. There'd be a circuit in this resined block here, and we have a positive negative, which also connects to a kill switch. You can buy these off AliExpress. Pretty basic kill switches, but again, this is, let me see if it's got a date on it. No, it does not. 10 amp 250 volt. Right, so it's not producing any more than 2.5k watts, assumably. And of course, this also has a pull part for this when we talk about the carburetor in a second. So basically, that's somehow this would be feeding, continuously feeding the spark plug. So it goes zap, 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 because it's releasing the power. When this goes, it's you know, it's spinning around, spinning around, spinning around, and then it's going like zap, 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 zap. Every time it's spinning around, right? Because it's creating electricity through the like static electricity, I guess, through the magnet. And your kill switch is simply just to say no more zap, 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 zap. We turn that off now, or technically that way. No more electricity. And then what happens, it can't go boom anymore in this area. You know, this area cannot explode, essentially, because it or combust fuel anymore, which stops the movement of this pushing down and up, which then stops this. And, well, this as well stops everything, I guess. Now, one very interesting thing is this is a carburetor. These are old school. Motorbikes now usually use fuel injectors. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So if I get my spark plug again, and we just put it in, very easy. Usually you'll grease pretty much everything before putting it in, just mildly, to stop it from rusting and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Now, here, this is the exhaust. So here it's got some like paper. It goes like this. Yeah, with engines, everything's got like these things everywhere. I don't really understand if it is. I think it's to create like an airtight seal. This is just like heat-proof stuff that's airtight. I'm not exactly sure. So to go like this, right? And it goes fuel and air in, spark, boom, pushes piston down, And also, mind you, piston goes up, compresses fuel. When fuel gets compressed, it gets super hot. And there's lots of physics going on where it gets super hot and expanded, and that means it's super easy to, I guess, zap, and it kind of just explodes on its own by getting expanded. There's an interesting video where a guy pushes down in like this tube which got like a plunger thing. It's like a needle almost, and you've got a little piece of cotton at the bottom of the glass, and like the pushes a plunger down and then it goes whoosh and it explodes. It's crazy. It's just from compressing air. Anyway, this has got a bit of weight to it. It's probably got some kind of like carbon or some kind of I don't know. It's like a catalytic converter, maybe, just like a really old school one. But enough about that. More onto the carburetor, which would go, I think, like this, right? I think like here. And what this is doing, this is a fuel and air control device. And I don't fully understand this, mind you, just so you know. I don't fully understand this, because the problem is I ripped this open. I was like, hey, maybe I could fix it, or I could learn from it, you know. The problem is that the fuel tank is not connected. As we can see, this needs to be, you know, hooked up to, I don't know if this was hooked up to here, or I think this was hooked up I don't exactly remember. Actually, I think it was hooked up to the air intake thingo. Let me get that. So you know that squishy thing? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was hooked up there. You know that squishy thing on down here? That little squishy thing? I'm not completely sure what it does, but what I've kind of figured out is that it either pushes fuel or air into the carburetor. This one actually, it got so dry because it's so old. I pushed it and it like shattered. So the squishy plastic turned into like a solid resin. But you can see there, it'd be pushing, technically pushing air, or like air, and it would probably be like mixing fuel and air, because it'd be going, it's like when you mix saliva and air in your mouth and it gets all like frothy, right? I think it's something like that. I'm not completely sure. Again, hopefully understand this. Anyway, you can see here there's like a door that opens when this gets pulled. See that? Oh, look at that. We can see through it now. Right, and it slowly opens and closes. And this thing here, you can see it's got this thing for the wire to sit, is where the this piece of wire, where the master throttle thingo is going. Yeah, that's what you're doing when you're opening the throttle, or you're throttling, is you are I think you're allowing fuel to go through the carburetor, or you're allowing air, which then pulls fuel through it or something. Because one interesting thing you got to remember is the yeah, I've got it. Yeah, let me pull it over. This fellow, this is the choke. So we have usually 3 positions, and because it's not like attached to anything, it was attached to, yeah, it was attached to this thing, which was, I think it was attached to like somewhere like here. So there was like multiple positions of the choke, right? Which basically was like, do you want like no air to go through? See, it's choking it. Like there's a tiny little hole for air. Yeah, you see, it's kind of connects to here, I think. Do you want like a little bit, like a bit of air to go through, or do you want lots of air? Because what you do is you choke it when it's cold. I'll show you. So on this one, it says cold. It really should just say what it is, and it says cold and run. What's happening when it's cold, when it's on the cold, this is the carburetors and the cold thingo, we are what we're doing is we're blocking it, because we're not allowing much air to go through. And when it's running, we want lots of air, because air helps the combustion, right? And or you can do half and half. Colder is the more you choke it when it's colder, I think, because the cold air does not help combustion, not until you get it warmed. So usually, like, what you do to get these things running, and I've had to learn a lot about these things, is that you squish the primer bulb a bunch of times, you keep it on cold, and then you pull the thinger a few times, and if that doesn't work, you squeeze the primer bulb a few times, and then you pull the thinger. And then once it starts running, there you go, you turn it on run, or you turn it half and then on run. Because if you keep it on cold, it's putting too much fuel. It's what you call too rich. It's giving too much fuel, and you start having issues. You start getting, like, I think it's certain spark plugs show that it's too rich, it's too fuely, and it'll be like smoky. I think, is it smoky, or when you got too much oil burning? I don't know. This is probably a 50cc 2-stroke, so it's, you mix oil into it, which is why there's no, like, oil reservoir. Because, if it was a motorcycle, it'd have like a reservoir of oil. But yeah, so you're spinning this. So when you're pulling the thinger, okay, so you've choked it, so there's lots of fuel coming through, you're spinning it, that's electrifying the spark plug, so it's kind of going boop, 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 and there's lots of fuel in there, and eventually you're gonna get a big bang, I think, and then it's just gonna start going boosh, 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 up and down, right? And then you take away the choke and filter away from it, and you get lots of air coming through here, and then you give it like a bit of this. So I think I think this controls the fuel as well, because it's based on, like, pumps and vacuums, and I'm actually not completely sure on how the fuel, how this, like, carburetors pull in fuel, to be honest. But it's something to do with, I guess, turning this thing. I don't know if that just lets more air through, and letting more air through actually just means it has to spray more and more. And every time the piston goes, oops, it's magnetized. The piston goes douche, 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 douche. Maybe it pulls fuel through here, and you can see this is like a piece of cables. You see this piece of cable is dried out, not good, which was the issue with this thing. So fixing this is as simple as just getting a new, like, taking this off and getting a new little cable. So yeah, anyway, you probably have to look up the idea of the carburetor. I'm sure there's something someone could teach you. If I had the squishy thing, and I could, like, put air into it, and maybe I'll have to unscrew this and, like, tear it open. Though it's a kind of a little bit of a I feel like if I open it, I might not be able to close it. So I mean, admittedly, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put this whole thing back together. Not that it matters, because it was basically just going to be thrown in anyway. But it's probably a smart thing to try to put it back together. I think it would be good for me. Really, it's just I've just got a bunch of screws, and I just have to figure out which screws go where. It's really not that hard. One funny thing I'll show you is this has got foil here. Oops. Well, foil and foam. I'm pretty sure this is like spark protection to not get zapped from the this and, like, everything, all the electrical components. I thought that was kind of funny. To look again at this, it's just the whole spinning mechanism is through here, and it's going through there, and you pull it to get it started. Right, this looks like it's a spark plug up here, if I am correct. Yes, here, let me pull this off. Yeah, so this one, spark plug, that's right, spark plug. Carburettor is right, it's under there. Fuel tank is at the bottom. That's how they all pretty much work. Fuel tank at the bottom, carburetor to the side, exhaust to, see that silver, see this silver thing here, that's the exhaust. Starter at the back, motor is there, and they have an interesting, this one's a little smaller than that one. They have an interesting shape, and it looks like it's casted from, judging by the rust, potentially aluminum steel, potentially lead steel, some kind of lead steel alloy maybe, because it's got, see that white, that's not, I mean, it's got like, it kind of looks like it's got some iron rust in some bits, but it also looks like, it honestly looks lead. It looks like it's like a thicker lead alloy, because lead's just gonna, I mean, I don't know if it'll melt. And they generally, I think they make them out of like steel, aluminum. I'm not sure. I know they make these things out of aluminum, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, so yes, we can see spark plug at the top, and all the electronics is for the kill switch is here. That's the same thing as this. And we can see the pull thingo. If I pull this, like so, you can see click, 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 you're there. It's this thing here. Pull carburetor. So there you go. And of course they just add some like safety features. Kill switch here. Turn that off for now. I mean on. I'll technically keep the power on. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna probably put this together tomorrow. It's pretty dark right now, it's pretty late, so I'm gonna relax and like edit this video. I hope you learned something. I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't fully understand how these things work, but maybe this gives you some idea, because it's taught me a little bit about it. So it's taught me, maybe it'll teach you. Anyway, have a good day, and feel free to check links in the description, social commercial stuff, and have a good night or day.